To our channel, my partner Adam and I and our dog Twyla have been travelling around Australia for the last 3 years. We mostly travel in our converted Ford Transit camper van and occasionally take our Suzuki Jimny out tent camping, and we don't even mind doing a few Airbnbs in between, large and small. So for everything camp cooking, paid and free camping locations, camping tips and tricks, and the good old country bakery, you've come to the right place. So make sure you hit that like and subscribe and come travel Australia one town at a time. Now you know who we are. Let's get back to the episode. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm King Dino.
I'm Adam, this is Twyla.
And this is our last episode for the year. And this is the last 6 months of the year that just was. We had part 1 last week, so we'll link that in at the end if you didn't get to see it. And now this is the next 6 months after that, and to lead us right up to now. All right, guys, enjoy the episode, and we'll see you at the end. Sunday, episode 28th for the year. We're right in the middle of the year, and it's winter camping time. In this episode, we headed to Mount Franklin, which I'm taking you around right now, showing you the whole camping area. And then when we were there, we did a whole heap of winter camp cooking. We started off with making jaffles. These were like Mexican jaffles. They had jalapenos in them. They had beans. They were so delicious. Definitely an episode you should go back and check out. You probably won't want to eat this food in summer right now, but in this next winter, you might want to go back and check out this delicious episode again. Now for dinner, I thought I'd do a red wine stew. It's a beef stew. And to go with that, I wanted to make some damper, but I thought I don't want to just make ordinary damper. So I thought I'd do a cheese and herb damper. Never made it before. Done plenty of dampers, but haven't done a cheese and herb damper. So as you just heard, I whipped up a damper. Look, I have to admit, it was a bit dark on the outside. Probably cooked it a little bit too long, but the inside was pretty nice, and definitely will try it again in the future one day. We kept the fire going the whole time we were there because we wanted to get up a whole heap of coals happening so we could use the camp oven again. Now, unless you've been living under a rock for a very long time, you would know that Mount Franklin's one of Adam's and my favourite place to go to, especially to do cooking episodes. It's not far from Dalesford, just up the road, and also they do have brand new drop toilets. They don't have running water, so you do need to take your own and be fully self-contained. But yep, my stew was nearly ready, and let's see how it turned out. Wow, doesn't that look good? And Twyla even liked it also. The next morning, we headed into Dalesford to the Botanical Gardens, and right in the middle of it, and we've been here a few times and love it, is the Wombat Hill House, which is a cafe. They're open normally for breakfast and lunch, and they do a really good breakfast pizza. So if you're ever there, definitely grab one. They have indoor seating. They do sell bits and pieces of food, and then here's our coffees. And you'll see our pizza in a sec. It was delicious. And of course, Adam had to get a dessert. And that was it for episode 28. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm King Dino.
I'm Adam, this is Twyla. And on this episode, we're in the Victorian town of Denali.
Now, this town was famous for them finding the biggest gold nugget. It was huge. We stayed in the Denali Caravan Park, which was really nice. Had a little lake in the middle, and they even had their ducks that lived there, and you could feed them at night. So we really enjoyed our stay there. Also, you know you're in a country town when you see a tractor parade go by. How funny is that? And then in the morning, we checked out the museum where they had a replica of the big gold nugget they found. So I definitely want to check that out. They had all other things in there. They had a gun collection and plenty of old artifacts and things you could check out, which we really enjoyed. The town also had an antique shop, and you know what Adam and I are like, we love checking them out. So we had a look right through. They had some awesome things inside. We were good. We didn't buy anything, but yeah, I'm shocked about that because normally we always do. Next door to that was a bakery, so we definitely checked that out and had something to eat. We always have to get something from the bakery. It was really nice. We actually ended up going there twice in our stay. The town even had a talking turtle. If you want to know about that, just go back and watch the episode. Definitely worth checking out. Then we checked out the old courthouse, which then also had behind it a place where they used to keep prisoners in between transporting them. And there was this awesome old house that was all done up across the road. It was beautiful, and we just enjoyed looking at that. All right, so for dinner, I'm going to whip up a minestrone soup. It was winter, so it was definitely a really good time to be cooking a soup, and I love any soup that has pasta in it. It just makes it more filling. I just feel like soup is more of a drink than food, but that's just me. So it was really awesome and easy to make and just tastes delicious. In the morning, we got up after having our coffees and headed into town. We heard there was a market on. We checked that out. We also stopped at the bakery and picked up something to eat. Then we heard one of the locals say that there was a steam train coming. So, of course, we headed down there, and that we thought was the highlight of this episode, which it was pretty amazing. We love seeing the old steam trains come into town. But no, we found out they had this really old, well, how about I just let myself explain it? Right, so I've come up onto the train tracks and wanted to show you this tree. It's about 140 years old, they reckon, they think. Right, sorry about the sun, it's a bit bright. But I'm going to take you underneath it. It's an actual cork tree, and you can come see it. It's at the station, just on the side of the caravan park. It was so magical, going under its branches. It looked like something out of a Disney movie, but it was quite funny, Adam's reaction. I don't think he was impressed at all. He's like, it's just a tree, Dean. Relax. Of course. I told him to knock on it. I said, it sounds like cork. And so he did it, which I was shocked that he actually did it. And yeah, again, he wasn't impressed. I was. And that was episode 29 for the year. All right, we've picked up Terry. We are finally at our destination. That's not Terry, by the way. That's just a pelican. This might give it away if you've been here before. But we are in
St. Leonard's.
St. Leonard's. So this was episode 30, and we were there to celebrate my sister's 50th birthday. When we first arrived, we went to the bakery and grabbed ourselves a coffee and something to eat. Then we headed for a walk out to the pier. I was hoping I'd see a stingray, but no luck there. We had our first celebration drinks at the pub across the road from there. And then we were off to Basil Farm to meet up with my sister-in-law, Jen, who was joining us for our weekend away where we had hired an Airbnb. The food at Basil Farm was beautiful, and also the view. We went outside and took a look around the garden. They had a fire going. It was just so picturesque. We stayed in that night to celebrate Terry's birthday in the Airbnb. Jen was making herself and Terry drinks. We were drinking wine. We decided to put together a finger food platter. It actually turned out better than what I thought. And then after dinner, we celebrated her birthday with some cupcakes and sang her happy birthday. The next day, we checked out the local beach, and then we headed to... So we made it to Point Lonsdale Lighthouse, and look at Adam. He's borrowed Jen's jacket now. He looks like a teddy bear. We explored the lighthouse and had a look around. Then we headed over to the winery. Where have we come to?
So we're at the Oakdean Cellar.
Oakdean Cellar.
And we're going to be eating at Mr. Grub.
Mr. Grub. All right, let's go in.
Get some grub.
It really did feel like this whole weekend, all we did was eat. The food was beautiful everywhere we went, including this place. All the menus we ate from in this episode, they were all seasonal ones. So these were real heavily based on winter meals. After we ate, we took a walk around the winery. We checked it all out. We show you around. And our last stop was the Salad Hall before heading home. Episode 31 was our 3 years of van life Q&A. We got you all to send in your questions and we sat down and answered them all. We really like doing this once a year just to, if people have questions they want to ask us, we'll do one next year also. It'll be our 4th year of van life, and we sometimes get similar questions, but we did get some new ones this time, which was really cool. So anyway, that was episode 31. Episode 32, we went to a little town in Victoria called Elmore. Our very first stop was a miniature railway. We checked that out. We saw it take off, and there was a few people there that day having a ride on there. Then right next door, we headed into the Rural Discovery Centre. This is a free place you can enter. It's got a shop here. This was such a great little museum. The town was very proud of it. They had volunteers running it. We learned so much about the history with the farming equipment and just a lot of town history. It was really good and definitely worth stopping by. After the museum, we took a walk around town. It was getting late in the day, so we checked out some of the old buildings, an old railway train crossing, which was pretty cool. And then we headed to the caravan park where we were staying. It was the Elmore Caravan Park, and I'll give you a tour of the park in the episode. That night, I whipped up one of my famous one-pot meals. I'm doing a German pasta. I've never made this before, but it looks good. This was definitely my type of meal. I really loved this, and it was so easy to make. Don't know if Adam overly liked it. I forget what his opinion was on it. But anyway, the next morning we got up and checked out the Elmore Bakery. This place had so many awesome different kinds of pies. So we tried a bit of everything. And then we went for a bit of a town walk. We found this old water tower, and then from there we checked out a few of the shops in town. They had an antique shop, which was really cool. We checked that out for quite a while. There was so much in there to look at. Some of the stuff took us right back from it to our childhood. And then across the road from there was another shop that just had interesting pieces from all around the world. It reminded me a little bit of some of the things that I picked up over in Mexico. And then we ended our time in the town at one of the local pubs where we got something to eat and had a beer. In this episode, we are in Cobram, and we're staying at a caravan park because it is middle of winter and it's freezing. We got in pretty late that night, so the next day we got up to start exploring the town and looking around and seeing what there was to do. We first stumbled across this log cabin that had a history and had been moved right in the middle of town. We stopped off at a cafe on our walk and grabbed ourselves some breakfast. We stopped off and got some photos in front of the Cobram sign, had a look at some of the old buildings in town, and then, of course, we checked out the real estate. For lunch, we decided to head just out of town to the Big Strawberry. Now, if you can imagine, everything there was strawberries, strawberries, strawberries. They had merchandise, different things made from strawberries, and the cafe's menu was quite delicious. We checked out one of the beaches along the mighty Murray River. Adam was still hungry, so he grabbed himself some chips from the cafe there. After that, we headed back to the caravan park where I give you a full tour and show you their facilities and the accommodation. That night, I got out my fire pit kit and set it up and had a fire outside. It was really nice considering how cold it was at night. And then for dinner, I'm going to be doing something I've never cooked before. We'll see how it turns out. But I'm doing a pumpkin pasta sauce. That's right, you heard me. This was a perfect recipe. With it being so cold outside, it was something that was going to warm us up from the inside. Also, I didn't know if Adam would like this dish. This turned out so much better than what I ever thought it would. It was delicious, but let's see what Adam thought of it. All right, Adam, here we go. Never had it before. We'll see what you think. And I know it's very, very creamy.
Yeah, it's good. It's nice.
Well, that's good. It got Adam's approval. The next morning, we got up and headed into the local bakery. The town actually had a few bakeries,
So we chose this one and they didn't disappoint. They had some really nice pies. Plus Adam got a mixed pack of desserts. He just had to work out which one he was going to eat first.
On this episode, we're in the Victorian town of Leongatha,
and which is in Gippsland, and we're here for the weekend.
So this was episode 34 and we stayed at the Apex Caravan Park, which I will give you a tour of in this episode. In the morning, we got up and headed straight into town and checked out some of the shops. One of our favourite was a antique shop. They let Twyla come in and check everything out. We got some breakfast at one of the local cafes. Adam got pancakes and I ended up getting just classic eggs on toast. After that, we walked the streets and found a really cool health food shop, which we picked up some ingredients for what I was going to be making for dinner that night. But they had a big arrangement of different things in their store. There was plenty of beautiful old buildings. The one we liked the best was the theatre, which then also housed the local art gallery. We checked out what they had on display there. At the end of the street, there was a park that we could take Twyla for a walk in. And then that's where we found the old rail trail where a lot of people ride their bikes along. There's all different places you can stop. We found a map that told you what different things you'll see along the way. We also found an old train station that we checked out, and across from that was some beautiful artwork on one of the buildings. For lunch, we headed to the local pub. Adam got himself some cauliflower that was crumbed. It looked delicious and tasted all right too. I had some. And I got myself a chicken palmy. When I was doing a little bit of research on the town, I heard they had a statue that wasn't that old of a gentleman who rode a donkey. But anyway, I'll let myself tell you about it.
Lenny Gatha and his pony, who they rode to Sydney to watch the opening of the Sydney Harbour Bridge. And they got the whole story behind it. It's an amazing story.
So if you're ever in town, ask the local where the statue is and go have a read of his story. Now, with those veggies that I purchased from the health food shop, I was going
to make gnocchi soup. Yes, you heard me right. I'm not making the gnocchi this time. I have made gnocchi in the past episode.
This dish was so easy to make, and also it was a one-pot meal, which you know we love on this channel. Let's see what Adam thinks of this dish.
Right, Adam. Let's see what you think of this. Of course, Twyla wants some. Adam, you've had some.
It's very cheesy.
Cheesy, but
Is it a cheese soup?
It's not a. Oh my god!
What?
It's not a cheese soup.
They're just very cheesy.
It's a chicken gnocchi soup.
Okay.
And what do you think?
It's probably a bit overcooked. It's nice, but it's a bit overcooked.
Adam, definitely one who's very hard to impress. The next morning we got up, went to a local park. We parked there so we could have a view for breakfast, had our coffees, and we checked the park out. The rail trail ran straight through the back of the park, and they had barbecues there in an undercover area. So we just wanted to show you places that you could have a picnic. It was a beautiful park before heading home.
On this episode, we're in Warburton, which is around for an hour and a half from Melbourne East.
We stayed at the Warburton Holiday Park, which had stunning sights. Our one faced straight onto the water, and we got these amazing views. The first thing we did when we got into town was headed to their bakery. They converted an old petrol station into this bakery where you can just walk up to the window, order what you want, and then they had plenty of seating outside to be able to enjoy things like what we got, pies and coffees. We were blown away with the amount of variety they had in their windows. It was all so delicious, it was hard to pick what to have. To burn that off, we did a walk around the streets. We found this awesome vintage shop where we had to try on a few pieces, and we had a bit of fun while we were in there also. And they let Twyla in, which is always a bonus. There was a few unique looking shops that we liked. We even found a lolly shop, which Adam was happy with. At the back of all the shops, there is a walking track, which is quite nice to do. There were people fishing along there. This beautiful old bridge that you could walk across and get some photos. and just looking down at the water rushing underneath you, it was quite picturesque. Then we headed over to the information centre, which had an exhibition on at the time of a few different artists. So we checked that out. We enjoyed that. We got a few brochures on the area itself. We stopped off at this cafe to have something to eat and to do some wine testing. They took us through all their different wines and we tasted a few. It was quite nice and went well with what we were eating for lunch. From there, we headed out of town to
Jonabuang Rainforest Gallery.
So that's what we were
It's
just
a
driven
park-
to. No one knows where we are. We're just saying
Well,
this
it's 12
name.
minutes up, 12 minutes up the road from Warburton, and there's like an overhead canopy that's 40, I think it's 40 meters above ground.
Yeah.
And we'll do a walking track below, which is around 20-minute walk over some graded steps and pathways.
This experience was absolutely stunning. Definitely worth doing the drive out to it to see it. As you can see here, you can see up to where you walk out onto to look down at the canopy of the forest. And now down here is a walk you can do, which is absolutely beautiful that Adam was talking about. Then only 5 more minutes up the road from there.
We just arrived to the Redwood Forest. It's one place that I've wanted to come to for a very long time. But unfortunately, since like 12 hours ago. No, I'm joking. I have seen it before. But unfortunately, again,
Dogs aren't allowed.
no dogs. So
Even though it wasn't dog friendly, definitely worth the visit. Adam and I just took it in turns. So one of us would stay in the car with Twyla while the other one went and explored. There was so much to see. It was absolutely stunning. Great place for photo opportunities. Even though there was quite a few people there, it felt like you were by yourself. The way the trees were lined up, you lost vision of other people that were around. We could also walk down to the water at the back of the trees, and they did also have a spot where you could buy food and drinks, so you could enjoy that in the park next door to the actual trees themselves. So yeah, definitely worth stopping there, and quite a stunning place. That night, back at the park, I whipped up some Mexican food for dinner. In the morning, I give you a full tour of the caravan park, show you around, show you the facilities and the accommodation and activities you can get up to while staying in the park. And that was episode 35. In the next episode, we boarded a plane and headed up to Sydney. It was episode 36 to go meet Marty, the owner of MURV. He wanted to show us around his latest new van that had a pop-up roof that slept 4 people. This was an awesome van. The setup was so quick and easy. We really liked it, and we just have such a fun time hanging out with Marty and their team there at MURV. So if you are looking at buying a van, definitely check out this episode and others that we've done in the past with MURV to check out all the vans they have on offer. Episode 37, we hopped on another plane and headed all the way up to Cairns, Australia, where we hired a juicy van, which we were going to explore Cairns and then head down and do a road trip back to Victoria, Australia. We stayed at First City Caravilla Caravan Park. It was right in the middle of Cairns, which made it easy to get to everything. We set up camp for the night for the very first time, sleeping in a rooftop tent. The next day we got up a little bit battered and bruised, but we did get quite used to sleeping in our new rooftop tent. Our first spot we wanted to visit was the Cairns Aquarium, which Adam worked out if you have an RACV membership, you can get a discount. I've been to many aquariums before, but this one absolutely blew me away. It was on multiple levels. They had such a variety of fish, from saltwater fish to fishes that swam through the mangroves, and even the biggest sharks you've seen swimming in tanks. It was incredible. One thing I should mention is we didn't take Twyla on this trip, so obviously this is not a pet-friendly experience. But at the same time, if we had Twyla there, we would have just taken it one at a time, gone in and checked it out. Definitely worth stopping at the aquarium if you're in town. After the aquarium, we took a walk into town where they have their man-made beach. This place is awesome. You can swim there for free. They have lifeguards. They have places where you can get changed. And they have these awesome fishes you can get pictures with. Then we headed out to lunch. We went to an Italian restaurant, had some beautiful food. We both got a pasta, had a couple of drinks, and enjoyed the view. To walk all that food off and to cool down a bit, we took a walk around the Cairns Botanical Gardens. Being that we're from Melbourne, we don't often see these beautiful tropical trees, so this was a good experience for us to see them. Even though some of them did look quite alien-like, we really enjoyed our time walking through and checking out all these unique-looking plants and trees, and even some of the local wildlife. Then it was time to retreat back to the caravan park where we stayed the last night there, and I give you a full tour before heading to our next destination.
In this episode, we're currently in Cairns. We actually planned a day out in the region of Cairns to show you around and
Show you some
explore.
waterfalls and a few different other things.
But our hire car engine light's just come on.
So it's the second day of having our new hire car, and the engine light came on.
So this was episode 38, where once we had our van looked at, we were told to take it back to Juicy and swap it over, and then we'll back on the road to be able to explore the Cairns regions. So we hit the road in our new van, and the first place we wanted to go to was a little town that we heard that had a great bakery, but once we got there, it was closed. But after our disappointment, we found somewhere we could stop and have something to eat before heading out to the boulders. This is what the town was known for. We headed out there. There were people swimming. It was a warm day, even though it rained the whole day. We skipped on the swimming and we headed out on a walk to explore the boulders and also to check out the beautiful scenery and the rushing water. Even though you could swim in some parts of the water in this area, there were other parts they definitely recommended you didn't. So many people had lost their lives swimming around these areas. You must just follow the signs. Where it says you can swim, and if it says don't swim, definitely don't risk it because other people haven't come out. But don't let all this put you off. It was a fantastic place to visit and it was absolutely stunning. We hopped back into the Juicy van and headed to a national park. You'll see the sign coming up with the name of it. I won't be able to pronounce it. We wanted to go see the waterfalls. There was a beautiful walk out to them. They had 3 different spots you could check out the waterfalls. One lower, then a higher spot, and then one right to the side.
This is epic. Definitely worth the walk here, and because it's been raining, it's actually worked in our favour. Because it's so strong.
Yeah, I don't know whether we're ever going to get to Niagara Falls, but it kind of feels like that.
Just look at it. It's amazing.
It was definitely a comfortable walk. It was all paved with concrete. Trust me when I say you didn't need to be fit to do this walk, which is always good. And everywhere you looked around, you discovered more and more. This place was stunning and definitely recommend coming out and checking it out. Then it was back in the Juicy and we headed down to the Golden Hole. And this is where things got a little bit interesting.
There's a word of warning, and I was wondering if we were ever going to get to this point. But, so this area here, there is a sign saying watch out for crocodiles, and they're saying, even the locals just said, don't go down far because they're literally just here. So here's a sign here. So I'm telling the truth. Oh, okay. Crocodiles in this area, attacks may cause injury or death. If I knew a bit more about what's going on here, I would probably go further. That's it. That's as far as I'm going to go. I don't know. If a local won't go any closer, I don't think it's worth the risk. I've come up with a new phrase for us. It's better to be a live chicken than a dead chicken. Does that sound good?
Yeah.
Smart, eh?
Well, they eat chickens.
Well, they do eat
Not
chicken.
naturally, but I mean, I'm sure they get.
Well, that's what they
chickens.
feed them at the parks. At the
Yes.
parks, they throw them
Not
chicken.
live chickens, obviously.
But maybe in an episode coming up soon, hopefully we get to actually see the crocodiles in a controlled situation.
After surviving that adventure, we headed to our caravan park where we're going to be staying for the next few nights, called Big Four in Gina Holiday Cairns Coconut. And this is where we met up with our friends Laura and Rob, who'd been travelling around Australia for the past year. They were in Cairns at the same time as us. We met up with them at the caravan park. We had a few drinks at the caravan park's bar and ordered dinner in, where I interviewed them and asked them a few questions about their travels around Australia, and let you guys know that we'll do a Q&A when they were back in Melbourne. Episode 39, we were still in Cairns with our friends Laura and Rob, staying at the Ingenia Holiday Cairns Coconut Caravan Park. And also we had their dog Dusty with us, but what we were going to do for the day, we had to drop him off at daycare so we could head off to the Sky Rail, which takes you over the green, lush rainforest, where you can see all the beautiful trees, ferns, and nature going past underneath you. It's amazing views and great photo opportunities. We really enjoyed our trip on the Sky Rail. And then you get off at certain parts, you can have a walk around. There's one part where you can go see one of the many waterfalls up in this area. The last stop is in this little town named Kuranda, which had lots of things to see and do. We started our day off by walking around town, checking out all the shops and doing a little buying. We headed to the bakery where we got a little bit of a snack before lunch, and we also checked out their market, which was awesome. It took me back to the days of walking through the markets in Mexico. Then it was definitely time for lunch, and we headed to the Rainforest View restaurant that had some delicious food. We got pizzas and enjoyed the view while eating our lunch. After lunch, we took a walk along the river where Rob reassured us that we would be fine from crocodiles, but I don't know if he was just trying to keep us calm or if he was actually telling the truth. Then it was time to board the old train that was going to give us a different perspective of the rainforest. We'll be going right through it, checking it all out. It was going to take us past a couple of more waterfalls. One of them was one that we saw on the Sky Rail, and then there was another one that we went right past. We were so close to it, you could almost reach out and touch it. Got the most stunning views, and it was such a nice way to spend the afternoon, coming back down with the shade of the trees and the calm rocking motion of the old train, almost sending us to sleep as we had had a big day exploring this beautiful rainforest. After our very busy adventure, we headed to pick up Dusty from the daycare centre. We went back to the caravan park where we chilled out for a little bit. Then Adam and I cooked dinner for Laura and Rob before saying goodbye to them and wished them good luck on the last bit of their trip around Australia. Episode 40, we jumped into our juicy van and we were heading back to Melbourne. But in this episode, we started in Cairns and was driving all the way down to Nowra. We had 2 stops along the way. We were doing over 10-hour drives. It was a pretty epic adventure, and these are some of the things we got up to on the way down. We first came across the big banana. Well, maybe it wasn't the official big banana, but it was a banana with a frog on it, and we thought it was kind of cute. Well, Adam, you got a really nice background there. Palm trees,
It is
islands.
got a zoom background. We are at the town of Cardwell. And this is actually this
Coral
area is called
Sea.
the Coral Sea.
So this was a very quick stop. We were just here to use the bathroom, and we thought we may as well quickly have a look at their local beach. It was absolutely beautiful, but you had to watch out for the crocodiles, and we think we might have to come back here and explore it another day. Then we weren't back on the road for long when we come across Frosty Mango. We had to pop in, definitely had to check this place out. This place was mango crazy. You could get mango milkshake, 6 shakes, mango food, mango ice cream. They even had toys and merchandise. Adam even tried his luck in winning one. Do you think he won? Better luck next time, Adam. But anyway, I brought myself a magnet. Adam got his mango thick shake. And then we headed out to the big mango. Woo!
I'm thrilled.
Adam, why aren't you excited? It's a big mango. I'd be so excited to see the big mango.
I'm more excited to see this.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure you are.
Okay, get a photo so we can hit the road.
We headed back on the road and then we came across these 2 army helicopters that were heading to the Townsville Army base that we drove past on the way down. The next town we stopped at was Charter Towers, which was in Queensland, and they even had this massive globe as you drove into town with a little dot on it showing you where you were in this part of the world. A lot of gold was found in this region, so they had plenty of displays of old mining equipment that you could check out. But the main reason we wanted to stop off in this town, besides going to the toilet and grabbing something to eat, our friends Laura and Rob told us about this brand new mosaic artwork that was put up on the side of a shopping centre. It was so large that you could not believe it was done by hand, and just the tiny little tiles they used to make it was just incredible. As good as it looked from afar, once you got up close, you just could not believe the amount of work that would have gone into this. We really enjoyed stopping and checking this out. Definitely a place you must visit if you're driving through or even making it your destination. This was a fantastic place that we definitely will go back another time and explore the town even further. Back on the road, we enjoyed the sunset, but unfortunately we don't normally like to drive at night, but we had to be able to reach our final destination for the night, which was a Big Four caravan park. As we got closer, there was a lot of crabs on the road that we were dodging and nearly running over. Then we finally got there. We had a very late dinner. And then in the morning, I quickly spun you around the caravan park, showed you all the facilities and the accommodation, and then we were back on the road again. We definitely started seeing more animals along the way the closer we got to the Queensland outback, like this mother kangaroo and a joey. As we drove past one of the towns, we noticed that in one of their parks, they had this large easel with a painting on it, a Van Gogh, I think it was, and we just couldn't believe it. We had to stop and have a look. We had no idea why it was here. It was one of the largest, well, it is the largest easel, painting on an easel in the world. So we got a few photos, and we're still confused why I was even there. Then we witnessed a broken down truck. Well, I don't know if it was broken down or it was actually just bogged, but it wasn't going anywhere. Poor truck driver. Then we headed into this town that had the largest, there's a lot of large things around in Queensland, one of the largest bottle trees in Australia. Check it out. It was huge. So you could go up and take a look at it. It told you about the history of it, and the town had them sprinkled everywhere around in all the streets. They had the bottle trees. They were beautiful. And this same town we thought would stop off and get a pie at their famous bakery. There was so much to choose from that I couldn't help myself, and I got a shepherd's pie and a sausage roll. Adam was good. He just got a pie, but he did get a dessert. After that delicious lunch, we're back on the road. And it's amazing all the different things you see along the way. Rainbows, cows, sheep running across the road. Something you don't normally see in our suburbs. Oh, wow, look at this. Now we're really in country. All right. All right, they're all crossing the road. Someone left the gate open. Then we came across some silo art, so we definitely had to stop and get some photos. So we're back in New South Wales. And so we're just crossing the bridge, and that's where we're staying tonight. So we're now officially out of Queensland. So we found a caravan park in New South Wales just across the border to stay at. It was one of the smallest ones we've ever been to. We got in really late, so we made a quick pasta for dinner, and then I showed you around the park, which didn't take too long, in the morning, and then we were back on the road again, heading towards Nowra. This day, we pretty much drove the whole day, only stopping for really quick toilet breaks, and then we kept going until we hit Sydney, We drove underneath all the tunnels of Sydney to get to the other side and down to Nowra, our final destination, before heading back to Melbourne.
And we're at the Melbourne Caravan Camping Leisure Fest at Sandown Racecourse,
where we took you around and showed you a whole heap of caravans, camper vans, teardrops, and so much more. We even got to meet some of our subscribers. The last van we looked at on the day had its own massive TV outside of it. It had a keg where you could pour yourself a beer, and inside also it had another place where you could lounge back, pour yourself a beer, and watch the big screen TV inside. This was absolutely crazy. And did I even mention it had a smoke machine? Yeah, you heard me right.
We're currently in the New South Wales town of Nowra. We're heading west to the town of, I'm going to get it wrong, but I think it's Jugion.
We'll find out when we're there, I suppose.
It's a few hours away. We are looking at options to stay. There's a showground. It may be muddy and wet, so we may not stay there in our camper van, Juicy camper van.
And this is the last trip we're doing in our Juicy camper van. So this kind of series, if you want to call it, is over. Now, it was only a very small town. It had a pub, had a restaurant, there was a cafe. But first we started off by looking into one of their shops where they sold lots of different jams, chutneys, even things you could make cookies with. Also, they had recipe cards to go with their different products so you could make things at home. You could even see through the factory to where they made the products. Then just around the corner, but in the same building, they had different types of furniture for sale made from beautiful timbers. And then we went upstairs into a shop where they sold clothing and giftwares. Outside, they had a very cute nursery where they sold plants and giftwares also. From there, we headed over to the wine cellar to see if there was any wines we could pick up for the night. And then we headed into the long track pantry where we did some taste testing. After that, we headed across the road to show you guys where you could free camp and a bit of local history about one of the police officers that were killed. They had a whole story there to read and a statue that was made from recycled materials. We heard there was going to be a massive storm that night, so we decided to stay at the local motel where we witnessed a beautiful sunset and checked out some of the horses in the paddocks right next door. With the bad weather, we decided to stay in and eat at the motel, which had the largest meals. In the morning, whilst I was having my coffee outside, some farm animals came up to me and greeted me, good morning. They were so cute. Then we headed back into town to the pantry to go get a coffee and have some breakfast. On the way out of town, we checked out some of the old buildings that were over 100 years old, then drove up to the lookout to see the town from up high, and then went down to their local cemetery to see some of the old grave sites. Episode 43, we finally did it. We brought ourselves an air fryer, and we show you easy air frying meals you can do when you go camping next time. We stayed at pet-friendly Ilden Breeze Holiday Parks, and I will show you around and give you a tour of the park. In the morning, I got up and got ready to start making some scones from scratch for us to have in the air fryer. It was such a quick and easy recipe, and they turned out absolutely perfect. We really enjoyed them, and they taste great. We had one of the local birds come and try to eat one of our scones. Then it was time to prepare lunch, which was going to be chicken wings in the air fryer. I'll show you how you make a delicious marinade for them. They turned out great, and Adam agreed also. Then for dinner, I was going to cook up a roast. It was going to be delicious, so I had to cut up the veggies. I got a beautiful piece of meat from Aldi and also seasoned the veggies just right. Before dinner was ready, I lit the fire and Adam came out. We warmed up in front of it before heading in and dishing up dinner. The roast turned out fantastic. Then I whipped up an apple pie pocket for Adam for dessert that he loved.
And in this episode, we're in the Victorian town of Linton, which is around an hour and a half from Melbourne CBD.
The first place we came across to in this town was an antiques and collectibles shop. We went inside. They had so many things, blasts from the past, that you could check out and buy. So we did actually do that. We brought a couple of things before heading down to the pub for lunch, where we thought we'd have to sit outside in the cold, but they were nice enough to let us come inside with Twyla. They had an Irish bingo machine there, so we tried our luck and put a few dollars in, got our tickets, but unfortunately, we lost and we were losers. But we weren't losers when it came to the meals. The meals were so big and they were so nice. After lunch, we thought we'd check out our Airbnb that we had hired, which was the old town post office, which is now the Airbnb. So we had a look around. We show you what to expect if you were to stay there. It was really cool how they had parts of the old post office still there that you could check out. And also we loved that they had the 2 fireplaces, especially because it was cold at the time when we were there. That night for dinner, I brought my air fryer along so I could show you guys on your next camping trip how you can make yourself pasties when you're away. These turned out really good, and Adam didn't mind it either. Then for breakfast, we got up. I got the fire ready, got it burning to keep the house nice and warm. Whilst we had breakfast, I cooked up some eggs and toast, which were left by the host of the Airbnb so we could enjoy. That next morning, also, we headed out to go see a statue of a lady called Vera, who was one of the first female doctors in Australia, who was from this town. Then we took the Jimny up to a lookout where they look out for fires during the summer seasons. It was a great spot to get a look over the town and look at the beautiful views around.
In this episode, we're in the Victorian town of Ballan, which is around probably an hour northwest of Melbourne.
The first place we visited was a building that was 160 years old, and the owner, Danny, we got to meet her and interview her. She'd opened it back up as a art space, plus also in the future she'll be having shop there and also holding events there and hiring out different rooms. Just around the corner, Adam sniffed out a new ice cream shop where he got us both an ice cream that we enjoyed. We also visited the local butcher to pick up some meat because I wanted to make something in the air fryer that night at our van for dinner. We ate lunch at Zest, which had quite a variety of food on their menu, and they had undercover seating, so it was pet friendly, so we could have Twyla there while we ate our lunch. We stayed the one night at the Ballan Caravan Park. I show you around and give you a tour of the park, and also I whip up some tasty sausage rolls in the air fryer. The next morning, we get up nice and early so we can head back into town and go check out a diner where you can pick up burgers, chips, and even a thick shake. So that's what we did. We got a thick shake and then we headed across the road to the local bakery to grab some breakfast. After breakfast, we headed to the Ballan art space. We were lucky enough to meet one of the local artists that took us around and explained different pieces to us in their gallery and showed us their sculpture garden out the back. Episode 46, our friends Laura, Rob and their dog Dusty were back from doing their trip around Australia, so we put it out to you guys to send us in some questions to ask them about their trip around Australia, to give us some tips and tricks, do's and don'ts, and places you should definitely not miss out on seeing when you're traveling around Australia. So if you're thinking about doing the lap, this is definitely an episode you should go back and watch now. Episode 47, we headed up to Tokemore, just across the Victorian border over to New South Wales. The first morning we headed into town for an early morning walk. We found this train bridge which was still operational, but on a Sunday you could walk over it as the trains didn't run. Next stop was the local bakery where we grabbed some breakfast. After breakfast we checked out some of the shops in town before heading out to Christie's Museum. This was really interesting. It had old cars, vintage bits of furniture. It had caravans that were 70 years old. It was absolutely incredible what you could find in there. We then headed down to the local blowhole to check that out, and then for dinner that night, we headed out for tea to one of the local pubs where they had live music, really nice meals, and we had a few drinks, which we could do because the caravan park was walking distance. It was literally in the middle of town, so you could walk anywhere, have a drink, and then safely return back to the caravan park. The next day, we headed out for some breakfast. Also, we show you another place for a small fee. You can camp right along the water that has flushing toilets and all. And I almost forgot to mention the big fish. While you're here, you definitely got to get your photo with it. I'm camping by myself. Yes, I'm all by myself. The oak forest in Harcourt, Victoria, and it is absolutely stunning. It's a free camp spot. You just got to get there early enough to get yourself a spot. Also, they do have drop toilets, fire pits, so you can have yourself a fire as long as it's not a total fire ban day. But my main reason for coming to this free camp spot was to show you 3 easy camp cooking ideas using dim sims. Yes, you heard me right, dim sims. I'm going to make a dim sim burger with skin fries, an Asian stir-fried cooked in my camp oven. I'll give you my own opinion of what I thought it tastes like. That night, I sit out by the fire watching the stars, and in the morning, I'll take you on a walk up the mountain to check out the beautiful views. My last recipe for the day is a dim sim breakfast wrap. After breakfast, I head into Harcourt, into their general store where I pick up some coffees for myself and some of the nicest pastries I've had in a long time. I got a few extras to take home to Adam so he could give him a taste, and I got a big welcome home by Twyla when I come in the door.
And we're currently at the Bendigo Caravan and Camping Leisure Fest.
This was episode 49. We checked out a whole heap of Jaycos, a teardrop, a camper van, a caravan, and then we went around the show. We met up with the guys from Cranky Croc that showed us all their latest new products and some of their classics. So if you're in the market for a new van, this is definitely an episode you might want to go back and watch.
In this episode, we're in the town of Rye, which is southeast of Melbourne.
We've hired an Airbnb.
So down the Mornington Peninsula.
And we've just arrived. This was our second last episode for the year before doing the overviews. So I won't go into great detail about this getaway because you've probably just seen it. But yes, we enjoyed our time away with our friends in Rye. We saw plenty of things. We ate out. We checked out the pier in town. We looked at all the different shops. One of the highlights was definitely going out for lunch at a distillery where we got some really nice drinks and had some great food from a food truck. We also show you things you can do in towns that are close by. It was just nice to get away with our friends and share some quality time together. So if you're looking for a great place to get away close to Melbourne with your friends and family, this could be the place for you.
In this episode, we're at the Old Melbourne Jail in the city of Melbourne.
This was episode 51 for the year and officially our last video for the year. We wanted to take you on a journey through Ned Kelly's life. We started where he was hung in the Old Melbourne Jail. We went to the Victorian Library and checked out his suit of armour. Then we travelled to Glenrowan to show you where the final stand was. Also, they had new street art to check out, and the new information office was open, which takes you through the timeline of everything that went down in Glenrowan. And lastly, we take you to their family home where they grew up in Beveridge, Victoria. I show you around and we read some of the plaques about the house.
Wow, now that was a whirlwind. We hope you enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Woo!
Looking back at all the towns and getaways and places that we visited, it's brings back some good memories.
Yeah, it was awesome. We'll have to do this next year. Well, maybe I won't. That's a lot of work. But anyway, we hope you enjoyed it. Now, if you're new to the channel, you just found us, you've just seen what we have gotten up to in the last 6 months. And if you check out the episode at the end that's going to be linked in, you'll be able to see what we did in the first 6 months. And if you like all that, get down the bottom, like and subscribe, tell your friends about us, and come on the adventure next year with us. We want to say a happy New Year's to everyone. Stay safe this New Year's. Make sure you drink lots of water.
And don't drink and drive.
And don't drink and drive. All right, so we'll see you next Sunday at 5 p.m. for our very first episode for the new year.
Happy New Year, guys. Bye.
See ya.